In today's world, where everyone's a critic with a social media account, do we still need, professional music critics? Or, the ones who write detailed reviews and tell us if an album or a song is good or bad? Or, are they just a relic of the past? All right. Welcome back to Usapang Musiko with Ervin Besana. And again, my name is of course and will always be Ervin Besana. Again, thank you guys for listening, for appreciating, the episodes that are coming out. I hope you guys are having a blast and enjoying you know, the length, because I truly am enjoying the episode lengths. I'm really enjoying it, and if I come to think of it, if I don't really plan out my episodes, I feel like it's just gonna be like 1 hour of just blabbering shit, you know, blabbering stuff just to make up for time. But I'm very happy. I'm very thankful that AI, again, AI is can really help out with with a lot of things, but it should not create. It can expand. It can help bring out the best of you. So for today's topic, we're gonna talk about, or we're gonna answer a very simple question: why do we still need music critics? Now, I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm just gonna say that this episode might be a bit biased. I'm gonna be a bit biased on this episode because I am a music critic and a reviewer myself. I've written hundreds, if not thousands, of music reviews posted in the interwebs, and some of them are really great, some of them are really bad. I don't really do 100% every time, but but regards that, my goal here isn't to tell you what to think, but to open up the conversation. And again, this is a disclaimer, not really a disclaimer. It's more of like, I just want to let you guys know that I'm open to criticism and feedback on my own views, because that's how I grow and understand music better. And if you think of it, why listen to a critic when I can just, check the likes, the reads and comments and decide for myself, right? Many feel music is totally subjective. So who needs someone else telling them what to appreciate? But I firmly believe, there's a deeper value here that, we might be missing. Now, before we proceed, I just want to invite you guys again, if you're liking the flow, if you like the episode, if you like my previous episodes, you can always follow me on my social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're listening or watching there, you can hit the like button and comment anything. If you feel like you want to be part of the conversation, just comment. And then on Spotify, you can leave me 5 stars, and then follow me there, and then add a comment as well. And then if you have a specific uh podcasting platform that you listen to, I might be there as well. So we're in Apple Podcasts already, which is good. And then a couple more podcast platforms, not just available in the US, but available here in the Philippines as well. So let's dig deep and let's dive in. So let me just paint a picture here before we begin. A good music critic doesn't just say, I like this, or I don't. I mean, that's very self explanatory. If you're gonna explain something, right, you need to have that context. And I can, as a critic and a reviewer myself, I can't just say I like this, or I don't like this. It needs to have context. It needs to have, the meat and potatoes in there, right? Our work goes beyond simple personal preference. It always involves analysis, context, even historical perspective, and of course, a deep understanding of how music is made. And we always look at the song structure, the lyrics, and the production, digging much deeper than a quick thumbs up. If you think about it, with millions of songs available on streaming services, how do I even begin, or how do we even begin to find something new and truly meaningful? Again, in the previous episode, as I mentioned, again, I still haven't, you know, did a background check, but new songs are going out almost every second, or almost 5 seconds, 10 seconds to a minute. I'm not really sure, but there's thousands of songs going out on a daily basis. And yeah, we're swimming in an ocean of content, not just content, songs, videos. And this is where, a discerning voice becomes more important than ever in helping you navigate the sheer volume of new music, without getting lost. Critics can help you spot emerging talent, point out what's truly innovative, and show you how new art stands out from fleeting trends. And I really appreciate some of my colleagues in this space, because with the vast majority of people being opinionated, especially nowadays, you know uh the real ones, the true ones, are always, brave enough to tell if it's really good or if it's really bad, which I really appreciate. So thank you guys. Think of it, they're more of like, cultural scouts. We're more of like cultural scouts, to be honest. We identify what's genuinely impactful versus, what's just momentarily popular. Because nowadays, I'm gonna be honest here, with the millions, thousands, or even, let me rephrase it, with the hundreds to thousands to millions of songs coming out, there's a lot of shit. I mean, there's a lot of songs that we wish were not published. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna be honest. Sometimes it's always a hit or miss when it comes to music, but a lot of artists, I'm really sorry, are just miss after miss after miss after miss. And with the emotional depth that, new artists have nowadays, it's hard to tell that in their faces, if, especially with a stranger or random person, like for example, like me, telling you that, hey, not really a standout, it's not really something new. That's how I always phrase it. It's, if I don't like a song and it feels very generic, I don't always go straight to the artist's face and say that, your music is bad. No. What I always say is, it's not really as unique and new compared to today's music. Because I truly believe, everything has been done already. And I'm not really sure anymore what should be a banger or not. But I can always tell if a song is a banger or not, because of the lyrics, because of how it was created. And beyond just telling us about a song, critics like us gives you a framework for discussing music in a richer way. We introduce you to new ways of listening and appreciating music, moving you past just, saying good vibes to a deeper understanding of the art. You know, you know how sometimes, music can feel a bit, pointless or meaningless? Us critics make sure music remains a meaningful art form, not just a background noise, not just a simple background music in Starbucks or any, cafes near your place, but and or, something that is just, a gimmick or a quick commercial gain. We remind you of music's power, the power of music to move, inspire, and challenge. Again, we're not just, we know if it's like a cheesy Starbucks music that will just be played in the background. I mean, it's good. You can, it has reason to be created, but again, think of it like as like, we're trying to gatekeep, not really gatekeep, but I can't really think of the term, but we make sure that, these music are not just, a 1 minute reason to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes if you think about it, it might sound strange, but, critical feedback, even when it feels a bit uncomfortable at first, can actually be essential for an artist's growth. Again, feedback, even if it's uncomfortable, can be essential for an artist's growth. A critic's honest analysis, can push an artist to refine their skills. I've seen it firsthand how our words as a critic, our words shape an artist to really look into, to become bigger, look into their art, to try new things, and to think differently about their own music. I've seen that firsthand. And, think of this way. Think of it this way. Criticism can encourage you as an artist to ask yourself, what if I push this idea further? What if I made this more impactful? Questions like what if, I considered how the song will be remembered years from now. Hey, you're still locked in. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying our deep dives today. So, as an independent artist myself, my goal here is simple: to bring you honest, filtered insights from the music scene. Whether you're a fellow musician navigating this wild world or a fan looking for your next favorite track, this is our space. So if you're digging what you hear, make sure you're subscribed or following Usapang Musiko with Ervin Besana on your favorite podcast platforms. To be honest, it's just on Spotify and YouTube. I don't know. I think Amazon Music and yeah, I don't know where I'm at. So yeah, just check, just follow me on your favorite podcasting platforms so you don't miss any new episodes every Monday. And let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on all my social media channels, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Just type in my name, Ervin Basana. And then for YouTube, just type in Ervin Basana as well. And then for Spotify, just type in Usapang Musiko with Ervin Basana. All right, let's get back to the music. We try to spark that, self reflection in a way. And, it's a big lesson for artists to learn how to tell the difference between feeling simply triggered or defensive by feedback, and, finding genuine valuable insights that can actually inspire them to be better. It's not about being told you're right or wrong. It's not always about that. It's always about provoking deeper thoughts. Because you can always say, for example, you can always say you love someone, but how can you express that? You cannot just say out loudly that you love someone. You have to, dig deeper. You have to be critical. You have to be creative on how you can say that one simple thing and turn it into a masterpiece. Basically, that's we do. And to be honest, my dream as a critic is to find and foster music that can withstand the test of time. I'm not here to say that I like your music if your music is shit. You know, if your music, if your song, if your album feels like just another ordinary album, then I'm not gonna say I like it. I will say, yeah, it's good. It's great that you release your first album, but it's not really something that it's not really a head turner because again, music will always be competitive in a way. You're not just pushing music just because of just for the sake of releasing music. The back then, not really back then, but there are a lot of artists that has songs, even hundreds and thousands of songs, stored in their diaries and their notebooks because for themselves or for them it's not the best. And I appreciate that even more compared to to artists nowadays that are just releasing songs just for the sake of releasing songs. I mean, what the fuck is that, right? I'm sorry for the French, but what the fuck is that? And critics like me, through detailed analysis and high standards, can encourage artists to really aim for this, kind of lasting impact rather than just chasing viral fame. Because whether we admit it or not, we don't really listen to critics anymore. Because if we feel good about the song, I think I have to point this out with what Rick Rubin said. Rick Rubin said that if you feel like the music is good for you, then you can always release it and you're releasing it just for the sake of people or for people because you gave them the idea or they gave them the permission to listen to your song. Like, no. The core idea is you release a song because you want to at least have some type of recognition in a way, right? We're trying to aim for the stars, not aim for shit. That's why a lot of artists are blinded with the idea that they need to be as powerful or they need to follow the footsteps or the advice of a guy like Rick Rubin. I mean, Rick Rubin is great. He's a legendary producer. Produce a lot of songs, but he's a one of one. His advice can never, work for us, for us simple human beings. Because again, that's Rick Rubin. He's the only Rick Rubin. I don't know how he formulates his way, how he produces music, how he feels a song is right or wrong, but for sure, for 10 songs that he produced, I'm pretty sure that at least one, two, or three of them are shit, but not all of them. A lot of them he has a really great catalog of songs that are really great, but not all of them are really good. Sometimes I feel like sometimes his way of doing things is very different compared to us. And historically, there are many examples where um initial criticism, even harsh, you know, conversations eventually help artists refine their sound or even prove critics us the wrong way, which is great. I do hope that I get to have that type of experience where I provided a criticism and it helped the artist out. I mean, I've seen firsthand that a lot of people change the way they write songs because I was able to, to give them the criticism that they need. And I have to say this as well, that criticism is always, to some extent subjective. I cannot really deny the fact that, our eyes or our vision can always be subjective. But a good critic knows this and acknowledges their own bias. If a critic doesn't acknowledge their own bias and they just rely on their personal preference and they just say that, yeah, this is going to be the best thing to do with your song, or this is not really the best one, without really looking at their own bias, I feel like that's a young critic, or doesn't really have the experience well enough. A good critic is transparent and honest with the artist in the first place, which is me. I mean, I always tell to every artist that I get my hands on, or every song that I get my hands on, and that I am and will always be subjective. So there's a possibility that my critic is, the way I criticize the song is gonna be good or bad. I'm not really sure. Again, I just rely on the fact of what I feel is good and what I hear is good. And the vision isn't, but again, backing this up, the vision is not just random. I formulated of the idea of being a critic or a reviewer for years of experience. I studied music. I've been playing music. I've been listening to music for quite some time now. And it's like having a specialized. I feel like, not really upping myself, but I feel like, critics, reviewers have this specialized lens, through specialized lens where they look at the art, or of how they view the art. And honestly, a critic always holds a certain power, and with that comes a huge responsibility. And a responsible critic always strives for fairness and avoid personal attacks, and keeps their focus on the art itself and not the artist's personal life. I've experienced that firsthand, where I got confronted online by an artist. And I always say this: don't hate the player, hate the game. A good critic, or a great critic, doesn't really attack you on a personal level. I remember reading, let me just share, like, I remember reading this, uh this review of Scening by Dionella from the Flying Lugo, which is, you know basically their business models, that they review songs. And I've read this horrendous, very, terrifying and horrible review of Scening by Dionella, which is wrong in all ways you can imagine. The writer or the critic is already attacking Dionella on a personal level, to a point that it's not a review anymore. It's basically just shitting down on the artist, which is bad. But I feel like, I hope that music critic has already learned his lesson, or her lesson. I don't know. And criticism isn't about, giving a definitive truth. That it's about offering a well-reasoned perspective. It can highlight what might be wrong, like cliches, poor execution, or lack of originality, or what I mentioned earlier. And they always shine a light on what's correct, like innovation, profound lyrics, and masterful composition. Basically, good criticism should start a dialogue, and not to end one. And it's about inviting the artist and the listeners to engage with the analysis, even if, sometimes we disagree. You guys are always open to disagree, but because that's how, our collective understanding of music deepen. So, while everyone can have an opinion, the dedicated music artist, me, offers a different kind of value. One which is rooted in deeper understanding, context, and a commitment to the art form itself. You know, we try and challenge you guys, guide you, and to ultimately help you appreciate music on a whole new level. So, what are your thoughts on music critics? Do you find do you find me and some of my colleagues' insights helpful, or do you prefer to form your own opinions without any outside influence? Have you ever changed your mind about a song after reading a review? You can always share your thoughts on the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube or in Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. And I would really appreciate it if you can follow me on my social media platforms as well. Just type in Ervin Besana and you can find me there. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. I think that's everything about this episode. I think it's really good that I get to be. I feel like I got heated back there, and I'm really sorry. It's just again, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a bit more biased about this because I'm not really seeing a lot of critics, voicing out their opinions because of the general narrative of people being soft. I'm not saying being soft is bad. It's just that if you don't have any challenge in you as an artist, then it's gonna be hard to understand if you're doing things the right way or the wrong way. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. And to be honest, speaking of appreciating music, for our next episode, I'll put this critical thinking into practice as I share another music review. I'm gonna review drum solo. I'm gonna review Magpakailan Ba by featuring Pijong. So, so yeah, these guys are my babies. I love this guy. So I was able to give I was given the opportunity to review their song, and yeah, next episode we'll do another music review segment, and I hope you guys get to listen to that episode. Yeah, again, if you like this type of content, you can, or if you like my podcast, you can always follow me anywhere. To be honest, I'm not just on Twitter or X and Threads, but social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Goodcast, or wherever you find your podcast, I'm there. I feel. Yeah, I mean that's it. Again, my name is Ervin. Thank you guys for listening, watching, wherever you are, whatever time you have. So yeah, thank you guys. Bye.